It's definitely something in here. I've actually discovered the mine shaft. Let's check it out. We're gonna go in, don't worry, but I just want to get a cool shot of this. You could almost imagine it was, a little hobbit home. I guess there's some sort of a stamp mill. I didn't come all this way not to check out the stamp mill. I'm saying it doesn't know, it's just happy to be around. Now the next time someone asks if I've ever stood on top of an old stamp mill, well, I can say yes, of course I have. Haven't you? I'm in a little town that I discovered called Gold Hill. Right off the bat, we've got some sort of something. Alright, so basically what this thing is it processed the gold that they found here in Gold Hill. Let's get one more shot of this ore mill. Also got some sort of a cool little mining cart right here. Right here is something. It's definitely something in here. I think this is the entrance to the old gold mines, or at least one of the old gold mines that was here in Gold Hill. I found a cool flashlight on my last adventure, and maybe I can use that to give you a bit of a better look into this mine. Wow. Pretty neat. Some sort of shelter over here. This was actually the jail. I guess once they started finding gold at this place, town started sprouting up all over the place, and with people comes problems, and with problems becomes jails. I actually do see something across the street over here though, so we're gonna head and check that out. Got a sign here that says you can't dig or use shovels or picks or any of that other amateur mining equipment. What we got here? Looks like this was the actual bank. You see inside there? It says the trail begins at the entrance to the miner's field on the left, just beyond the log barn main entrance. Well, we will venture up that way and try and discover the Gold Hill Rail Trail. But first, we've got the Gold Hill Assay Office and Ore Shop. What is an assay office, you ask? Something you're going to have to ask somebody else, because I have no idea what an assay office is. It turns out that this is actually a real, what do they call it, an ore bucket, and it's from England. It said that Thomas Edison actually sat in here. I'm fascinated with stone structures, and peeking just in the middle of the woods here, right off on the edge, is a pretty sweet looking little stone wall. It doesn't look like much when it's all put together, but back in the day, people actually had to carry every one of these rocks by hand, stack them up, do all the work. So it looks like right here, I've actually discovered the mine shaft. Let's check it out. I think I'm gonna have to carry you for this one, Ralphie. Now all of the actual fun is straight down, so now it looks like it's just like not even very deep. I don't know how far down this thing goes. They've probably sealed it up over the years, you know, to prevent to prevent children and things from falling down in here, animals and that sort of stuff. Now I can check that off my list. I've walked over the top of an old mine shaft. It looks like either some sort of a train piece, or again some sort of, you know, old machinery that they would use to you know, somehow work with all this gold that they were pulling out of the ground. To me, this looks like it was some sort of a heater. Let's see if we can get a better view. I'm just getting some sort of like steam engine vibes or something like that from this thing. Almost looks like there was another piece of equipment here at some point, because it's sitting on the same things that this is. So as you can see around me, we actually got a snow a few days ago here in North Carolina, and this isn't normal for this time of year. Even though it's winter, it's not normal for us to have snow. Now I'm a little bit north of where I live. Where I live, I almost never get snow. Up here we're a little closer to the mountains, so they do get a little bit more snow, but it's nothing consistent. It's nothing that, you know, stays around for the entire season. So part of the reason I actually wanted to get out here was to just kind of, you know, find a way to enjoy being out in this rare, you know, snowy landscape that we've found ourselves in over the past few days. Just another big hole in the ground. Another mine shaft. Everywhere around here is literally littered with these giant mining holes. So you probably can't see it yet, but there's a pond through the trees. The pond in the woods, with just a thin little layer of ice on top of it. It has an eerie stillness. Someone carved their name on the tree. My son was asking me yesterday, we were on a little nature walk in our neighborhood. What are you doing in there? You might get wet. We were on a little nature walk just near where we live, and he was pointing out that someone had carved their initials and stuff into the tree, and asked me if we should carve something into the tree. I said, would you like if someone, you know, grabbed you and, you know, just tattooed something on your body? That's essentially what you would be doing to the tree, is, you know, forcefully putting a tattoo, and a pretty lame tattoo at that, you know, on its body. Is that something that you want to do? Oh look, we've actually come up on something. It's a little house in the woods. Looks like a hobbit home. We're gonna go in, don't worry, but I just want to get a cool shot of this. This is the actual powderhouse. So this place right here, this is where they would store all of the explosives and everything that they would use to, again, you know, pull gold out of the earth. And I guess out in the middle of the woods, probably because they wanted to keep it away from where everybody was. even back then they were thinking, you know, in terms of safety, this thing could, you know, blow sky high at any time. If I didn't read it on the sign, if I didn't know what this actually was, you could almost imagine it was, you know, a little hobbit home for the first hobbit I would have ever met, living out here in the middle of the woods in Gold Hill. Get the old flashlight out. And let's see what we got. Wow. Kind of a big storage container for bombs out here in the middle of the woods. Looks like someone's had a fire. Has 0 graffiti in it. I'm actually quite impressed with that myself. All right. So yeah, the place where they would store all the explosives to do the mining and, you know, pull that gold out the ground. Get that gold. Whoever was in charge of actually maintaining this thing, or the people that were in charge of maintaining this thing, think of how badass they were to work with those, you know, old school explosives. Probably one of the most dangerous jobs that you can have at the time. This is saying that the powderhouse is this way, the one that we saw. I guess there's some sort of a stamp mill or something up this way, so I didn't come all this way not to check out the stamp mill up ahead. I don't know exactly what a stamp mill is, but, you know, in the spirit of guessing, I'm assuming. So they would pull the gold out of the ground. They would, you know, get them all taken out of the rocks, and, you know, break it down to its pure raw gold form. And then I'm assuming that the stamp mill, a place like this, would be responsible for creating the bars, or maybe just putting like the company's seal or something on the bars. That's the best I can think of, you know, with something called a stamp mill. Saying it doesn't know, it's just happy to be around after all these years. Stone also mentioned that it's heard of me and was happy that I finally made it by. You're welcome, buddy. Now I gotta try and make it up here. It's kind of icy right now. Okay, there we go. Now let's try not to fall all the way back down. Let's get one more shot while we're at this vantage. The old stamp mill. What a cool place. See these bent nails? I don't know if they're hooks. Maybe they would use these loops to attach horses to, or something like that. They were probably bringing, you know, big wagons full of gold down here to be processed in whatever this place did. Now, the next time someone asks if I've ever stood on top of an old stamp mill in a historic mining town, gold mining town, well, I can say yes, of course I have. Haven't you? Do you remember when we were looking at those, you know, machine parts that I was saying might have been, you know, pieces of a train or something like that, and then there was those missing, pieces of foundation that didn't have anything on top of them? My guess is that this old rusty piece of junk came off of that. So that's the missing foundations that I think that thing that we just saw in the woods came off of. Again, the old bank The old administrative office that Thomas Edison worked in. There's one more thing I want to show you, and it's the little shops, the little town that's connected to this place called Gold Hill. Just because they've kept them very historic looking. It looks, I imagine, pretty similar to what the town looked like back in its heyday in the early 1900s, when they were, everyone was striking it rich around here, pulling gold out of the ground. So can you imagine back in the day? There's places like this that the people that were running this mining town would live. I think it's actually someone's house back there. An old cabin that they've kept around as some sort of a store here, like a general store. Pretty little butterfly. Flower stand. Another residence of some sort. Just get a nice view. So yeah, this is still like a modern working town where people live and have families and all that sort of thing. But this is what it would have been like back even when the miners were just starting to populate this town because of the gold that they had found here. Snowplow coming through. Anyways, this pretty garden deserved we stop and just admire it for a moment. All right, complete. I can move forward. And I won't just appear with my sweatshirt off in the next scene. So all is well in the video editing world. This thing. Just imagine, like back over 100 years ago, when they were mining gold. This is the kind of thing that they were having to pull out of the earth, and they didn't have the massive, heavy lifting equipments and things like we do to these days. Remember the old ore mill from the very beginning? The old jail, right on the side of town. So that was Gold Hill, North Carolina. Planned on going to a completely different place today with a couple caves. Brought me up through this little town that's about an hour and a half from where I live. Just driving through here kind of intrigued me, and I mentally had put it on my radar for something to discover later. Well, when I arrived at the place with the caves, it turned out that the roads were too bad, so that park was closed, and I found myself exploring Gold Hill, North Carolina instead.